Our friend, the Google Pixel Fold, the much maligned Google Pixel Fold. It's been a bit of a punching bag here at the end of the year, making a bunch of lists of worst phone of the year, biggest flop of the year. Biggest flop of the year is more of a discussion, and we'll get to that in a moment. But by no means do I think this is the worst device of the year. Overall, it's running well. It's a pretty good performer. Battery life has improved. It had an excellent update with Android 14, adding a lot of the features that we wished we were there from the beginning. But that was the point. First impressions matter, whether you like it or not, especially with tech. That's when the reviews are coming out. That's when everybody's using it. That's when all the eyeballs are on this device, and it just wasn't there. It was eerily reminiscent of the Microsoft Surface Duo. Now, you want to blame the Surface Duo on the pandemic, whatever happened there, that's fine. But it was a half-baked device that had glitchy software when it came out, and the spec sheet wasn't really worth the dollar amount that you were paying for the time that it came out. Now, a lot of the same complaints could be said about the Pixel Fold. Should it have had Tensor 3? Yeah, probably. If Tensor 3 wasn't ready, they should have delayed this release. But they had it in the pipeline for just so long, and it was just back and forth. They just had to get it out. So they just kind of spit it out, whether it was ready or not. And the thing is, despite Google having Android 12L and then Android 13 equivalent, and having those tablet software experiences at the ready, they really didn't translate a lot of that to the Pixel Fold. When you open this device up and you see the beautiful landscape that you have here, I saw so many possibilities for how you can handle apps and multitasking on this. I wanted Microsoft Surface Duo-esque multitasking, where you can have two apps with excellent aspect ratios for both sitting on this display. And if you're done with one, let's say you got Twitter on one side, you got Instagram on the other, you got email, whatever you happen to be doing, you could just swipe up one and then add another one without disturbing what you're doing on the left-hand side of the display. If you're going to give us this gorgeous landscape display and nice and wide, just screaming for the ability to multitask, and then not give us all the tools for multitasking, that's weird. That's an oversight that should have never happened in a million years. That's a very strange development. And then you add in the fact they don't even have app pairs. That was pretty strange as well. How long is it? How weird is it to make something that has app pairs? When you're looking at other competition, you're looking at Samsung having app pairs going back to, I think it was 2017. Something just really just a nuts stat about how long app pairs have been around. And for Google to not have it on a device like this was really inexcusable at the start. Then you go into the screen aspect ratio on certain apps. Yes, okay, should it have been a developer issue? Should various companies have updated their apps and come into the 21st century or whatever century we're in now and said, you know what, we're going to make tablet optimized apps? Sure, probably, but I live in this world, on this planet, and that wasn't going to happen because the money wasn't there, the incentive wasn't there. So you knew, everybody knew, Samsung knew, Vivo knew, everybody who's made a larger foldable this size came up with a solution on their own to how to handle the aspect ratios because they knew that if they left it up to the developers, they'd be waiting forever. Google didn't do that. What, Google's the only one that couldn't figure that out? That there wasn't going to be a solution at the ready from app developers, even if they held that carrot and stick out in front of them and said, well, we'll improve your standing in the Google Play Store if you go ahead and do something like that. No, it wasn't going to happen. So the fact that it took so long for them to then come up with a solution was annoying. But the solution that they came up with is actually pretty good. I love their solution here. It's one of the better ones. You go into the information here, you can look down, and then you get the aspect ratio right here. Full screen you could do, that's great. Half screen you could do, and then you could have it any way you want, or app default, which gives you the smaller one, which people said they liked. Well, now you have a chance to put your money where your mouth is. You wanted the smaller app experience. You said you preferred it. Well, there, you could go ahead and have it there. But the fact that that took so long, such a really nice, elegant solution that if it were available on launch, would have at least helped transform public opinion about the Pixel Fold. It certainly would have changed my opinion of it at first. Stuff like that was missing. And that's really where it started to fall apart for the Pixel Fold. Then you look at stuff like the battery life at first on launch was awful. Absolutely awful. I think it was something like 5 hours of screen on time. Then you had people having the overheating issues. That's not Pixel Fold specific. That was Tensor 2 specific because you had the issues going down the line with other devices. Android 14 came along and fixed a lot of that. It took Google a year to get the first Tensor locked in and optimized to the point where it's running the way it should have been. It took them almost another year to get Tensor 2 locked in where it should be. Tensor 3 is not really having those issues. I don't anticipate that being a problem in the future. Feels like they finally got things under control, but it wasn't for the Pixel Fold. So Android 14 fixed the overheating, fixed the battery life issues, at least for me. Performance was always good on it. I never had a problem. Don't talk to me about benchmarks of Tensor 2, how it doesn't match up. You can say if it's not worth the money, that's fine. But don't get on that other stuff. Performance on this device was silky smooth right from the start. It was one of the better performing devices of the year, and it's really nice. And then you pair it with that gorgeous outer display, and I really never had any problems as far as performance was concerned. While I don't prefer a device, especially a Fold, if I'm paying that kind of money, where I spend most of the time on the outer display, I did appreciate the inner display. My biggest complaint about the inner display on the landscape mode was the lack of proper multitasking and the lack of a situation for the apps, the aspect ratio on the apps, a solution for that. Once you give me that, then I have very little issue with the Pixel Fold because I could pull up Slack on here. I could pull up Airtable. It's a kind of a program that keeps track of my articles for Android Police. All that stuff, if you've got a spreadsheet, all that stuff looks absolutely gorgeous on this display. And you get the nice wide aspect ratio. You could look at a whole document, a whole email. You could pull up certain things. My problem with the Google Pixel Fold was the software and the implementation. They gave us all this gorgeous hardware and this fancy hardware. Yeah, would I have liked the inner display to have a anti-glare layer or something like that? Do I like the fact that they put this stupid hardware? I don't even know why they didn't close it flat. They really should have worked on that because it really highlights the crease in the middle of the display when you have that slight non-closure there and not quite 180 degrees. It really exacerbates the crease that you got going through the middle of the device. Do I wish those things? Yeah. But on the whole, I think the hardware was pretty much nailed. I love the camera on it. I think it's the best camera on a foldable that you could get. Love the 5x optical. Takes really great photos. No problems with that. I think if they had just gotten the software solution and kind of lived up to the potential of what the hardware, they had a beautiful hardware canvas here that they gave us. And if only the software from the beginning had lived up to that, they would have had something. Now, the Pixel Fold 2, in typical Google fashion, the rumors are saying, well, they're going to ditch this design completely. I think that's a mistake. I think they had a roadmap for success. The Pixel 6, they stuck with that design. They said, you know what, for the Pixel 7, we're going to refine it. And for the Pixel 8, we're going to refine it a little bit more. And the Pixel 8 was absolutely nailed. One of my favorite devices of the year, and certainly one of the most improved devices of the year. I think the Pixel Fold could have that kind of renaissance. They could sit there and say, you know what, let's refine a few things here. Let's get some of the software in line. Let's really deliver the multitasking promise that we have here, and we'll have a winner. And by the second generation, people will be excited about it. And by the third generation, we'll be really ready to compete and have something on our hands here. It's disappointing to me if they kind of wholesale scrap that and go to another, what the Fold 6 is planning to be, those Vivo Folds, that type of stuff, those bigger foldable devices. I think that's a mistake. I think they have an issue. They have a way of success here with a different type of larger foldable. And if they embrace that, that would be great. If they don't, I think they're going to wind up losing. But overall, $14.49, probably the price that this should have been on launch. Link will be in the description. It does help the channel. If you've made it this far, like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Until next time, have that Steve-licious day.